Welcome to today's episode of Otaku Stroll by Nerds and Beyond. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Katie.
And today we're speaking with Mark Whitten.
You probably best know Mark as Kazuha in Genshin Impact or Rengoku in Demon Slayer, among many other titles. And we will be talking to him about the differences in voice acting for television and video games, some of Mark's favorite games as an avid gamer, and if he likes pineapple on pizza. Stay tuned.
Focus, no matter what twisted reasons you give. I will not yield. If you're really sure you want to join an audition, then you're gonna need to get official approval. All I knew was that I mustn't let his hope, which burned so brightly, become buried among the ice-cold statue of a god. Come driving rain or winds that churn, I shall return by blade alone.
Hi, everyone, and we have Mark here now.
Hello, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Of course.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Mark, the timeliness of this interview, it could not have been more perfect because Kazuha's rerun is coming up in a few weeks.
Yep.
So I'm excited. I know Katie's excited.
I'm sure you all have him C6'd already, though, so...
I don't have him yet.
Yeah.
You don't have him at all?
No.
I just started playing Genshin like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm new. I have never pulled on like a character banner yet.
So I can be the first, is what you're telling me. You plan this out perfectly so that you land the plane right when Kazuha is coming onto the...
I mean, he's running with Nouvelette.
You're slightly torn.
So I'm a little torn.
I get it.
I've been saving for a while though, so I am kind of hoping that I get to double dip on this banner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, yes, I wish you all the best of luck. My experience, no matter how much I save, there is no double dipping. There is only fury and rage until it finally turns gold.
You're left to
But I get it. You like Tengen more than you like Rengoku. That's fine.
No, wait.
You three
Hang on.
Well,
That is not what I'm saying. Rengoku is my number one in Demon Slayer. Okay. So, I mean, it's a trade-off. Rei gets number one in Genshin, and you get number one in Demon Slayer. I will, however, say that you have a one-up, though, because Final Fantasy VII is my favorite video game of all time. And you're in that.
That's true.
So,
take that, Ray face.
Exactly.
No, he's definitely coming for that one, too. I'm sure if Ray has not already projected to somehow be Final Fantasy, so he just is every voice. We're just all putting our names on there. It's actually Ray Chase. He's done everything, and it's fantastic. He does really great voice matches.
He is great. I'm not gonna deny that at all.
Yeah. So you're obviously you're playing Rebirth then right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I am.
Loving it. Segueing into every tree you can find.
So I'm there now. I just got to Costa del Sol, and I'm literally like kind of waiting till I have a really good chunk of time to sit down and appreciate the Segway, appreciate the beach outfits. Like, I've been waiting for this moment. So I'm actually thinking tomorrow I'm gonna like rot on my couch with Costa del Sol.
That's good. That's good. That's the thing, is like, don't put it off too long too, because like I can't tell you the list of games in my head that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get to that, but I need a big chunk of time, and then time passes and like something else draws my attention away, and now I'm like sitting on so many chunks of time that I have to expend on games from like years ago.
Yeah,
in, rot tomorrow.
I just played the Resident Evil 2 remake like in January, so I have a backlog.
Genshin has ruined my backlog.
I was going to say, then I started playing Genshin, and now and now I'm trying to save up for a double dip banner. So what do I have? What do I have time for?
I don't know. And it's also like the kind of thing with like Genshin is like it kind of keeps you hooked, at least with like something like Final Fantasy. You get that chunk of time off while the new game is being developed, and you're like, okay, now I have time to go and do other things.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Genshin's like, where have you been?
Yeah.
Banner dropping.
Yeah.
Log in. Come on. Do your commissions. Let's go.
Yeah. Every day I'm like, hang on. Like my husband's like, let's go upstairs and watch whatever. And I'm like, hang on. I have to do my commissions. Give me 10 minutes.
Yeah. We have our nightly runs together where she'll text me like, all right, are we doing this tonight? And my fiance knows like, okay, you're busy for the next hour. Fine.
Oh, that's good. You have like the thing. So it's, your dedicated time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Our families love it.
Yeah. Well, you just have like second family, you have your own family between the two of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's favorite character is one that Lindsay has. So sometimes when her and I are playing, my daughter comes down because she wants to see Zhao.
Yeah, she just wants, so I'm just like swinging his spear around so she can watch, and I hear her in the background like commenting on how cool he looks.
That's awesome. Does she? I mean, wow, just so she's already like kind of like latching on to that angsty, reclusive vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know, because she's always like, oh, she's 7, and she's like, oh, his sword is just so cool. But I have to say too that her like favorite fictional character of all time is Cloud. So yeah, I think she is latching onto the angsty, tortured soul.
Oh, she's gonna be in for like that's a long road ahead, my friend.
Yeah,
they'll change. Don't worry, they'll change.
I hope so. I mean, it was funny. I was talking to Lindsay the other day about how she loves Cloud, and Lindsay, I didn't even think of it this way until she said it. She was like, it's so funny that like you were that age when you first met Cloud in the original game. And now she gets to meet Cloud and become just as obsessed with him now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Mother like daughter.
Yeah. I mean, because I used to like carry the Final Fantasy VII PlayStation 1 like pamphlet book to and from school with me and like read it at the breakfast table, like instead of the back of the cereal box, as we have to do, I would have the Final Fantasy VII like game insert, and it was like a little Bible for me.
That's amazing. I gotta say, I one thing, like digital is great and everything. It's made life nice and super smooth, but there is something wonderful about those little like when you had to go to the freaking pamphlet to learn how to play the game. Like, we're not putting.
I miss those.
We gave you one. It's a book. Don't you like books? You're playing a game. Read this.
I miss the game inserts. I don't remember what the game I bought, but the first time I bought a game that didn't have an insert, it was like a blow. I was like, whoa.
You kind of see it. You're like, cool, where's the insert? And you take it out and you realize it's just like a single sheet of like advertising. And you're like, oh no. Where's the cool art? Like, I remember going through the World of Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, the original Warcraft books and StarCraft books, and seeing all the fantastic, like, I live for the little concept art pieces they put in there as well. It's just like, it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I buy the guides. Like, I've got the 2 Last of Us books, and I have the Zelda, books, like just because I miss it. And now they're making us buy whole hardcover books instead.
Because they know you got that adult money now that you can purchase those hardcover books with. They're like, we can make a larger edition. You want to have a bookcase and look well-read. And now you're well-read in my game guide.
Those are the only books in my living room are Zelda guides.
Don't think we aren't buying them. It's a smart move. Big brain.
So Mark,
yes.
I want to hop into our first question.
Absolutely.
Your resume has a really diverse mixture of video game and television work. As a voice actor, what are some of the biggest differences that you've experienced between the two behind the scenes, like actually bringing them to life and working on the project?
That's a great question. Yeah, every project is different within the genre, and every genre indeed has its own challenges and its own workflows. Um, Commercial, which doesn't often get talked about when we're doing like conversations on voice acting, because it's very much like animation, video games, but like things like commercial, promo, IVR, all that stuff that also makes up voice acting. That is like some of the stuff I survived on before I got into like shows and whatnot, and still survive on. Those workflows are interesting because like commercial is very fast. And you have a lot of eyes because it is going to be something that is marketed out. So you'll be doing takes upon takes upon takes with very slight adjustments, and you can start feeling like you're maybe losing your mind a little bit. But the workflow is interesting because they're like, all right, now ABC of this, and then all right, here's a slight adjustment, ABC of that, all right, ABC of this, back to this, pick up this part, and you're just like hammering this very short copy in a very small like all at once. And then, of course, they'll want like improv takes and things like that. So I've found that commercial is a little bit of a more intense experience. But then you move into things like IVR, on hold messaging, simulations, a lot of stuff I do from home, and you get the scripts and you kind of do it at your own pace. I did audiobooks for a long time. And that's, while it is nice and gentle and you get to kind of coast by yourself, it is also like, you got to finish this book by this deadline and you need to keep reading right now because the clock is ticking and we need this delivered. And it's like a marathon of voice acting because you are just reading constantly and having to kind of keep your attention up. And sometimes my brain likes to switch words a lot, so that becomes a problem. And so it's a lot of like, kind of like, I don't know, like it's the long haul trucking of voiceover where you're like, all right, I got to make sure I keep myself awake. And sometimes you hit like the side of the road where it like buzzes and you're like, oh, okay, wake up again. Where are we? You got to really like maintain this interesting sort of focus on the through line. And then we get to the stuff we all love: video games, animation, anime. In animation, I did a show, Home Adventures with Tip and O, like a while ago, and it was great. It's original animation, and I've done a few shows like that. And a lot of times with original animation, you get storyboards beforehand, you get a script beforehand, and they animate to our voice. So we have a lot of freedom, like tons of freedom in how we do it. We get to see a lot of the project before, or like kind of the concepts of it. But then when we get in there, sometimes it'll be single sessions, sometimes it'll be ensemble record, but we get to kind of like run free. And that's really cool because you can kind of, and the creators are right there. And indeed, since nothing is like set in stone in the animation, you can play a lot more in projects like that. And you get over to anime, and by contrast, that's all been done in original animation wherever it is being done, be that in Japan, China, or I guess anime is central to Japan, but other animated shows that you are dubbing may come from other places. And so that it's very much about like, it's very technical at that point. And sometimes you have to operate under the constraints that you may get a perfect performance take, and they may be like, that is not going to technically work. We have to take it again. We're so sorry. Or, do better next time. No, none of that happens. But you do have to work within that framework, and that can be its own technical challenge. To try and bring as much fluidity and discovery and freshness to it. And a lot of times we're on a timeline too with those things. They're like, and we got to get this out tomorrow, or the budget is not what it is for like bigger films. I imagine, I haven't been on these films, but like larger movies like the Ghibli films where they are where they are, maybe a little bit of a longer process. They're they loom a bit larger in the public sphere. They have a bit more optics on them. They put, celebrity voices and whatnot into them. My guess would be that they spend a little bit more time on those to really eke out and like massage those performances and get things that are, they have a lot of like varying levels of quality control, right? Mm-hmm. So actually, I mean, Demon Slayer is a fantastic example. I've dubbed for other shows, but Demon Slayer, especially Mugen Train, we had a lot more oversight on the project, and that's cool. It's cool that they do that and that they had more folks in the room. And some projects, they're just different. Sometimes they're just like, hey, we trust you with this. Go off and fly. Some people want to have a hand in it and take more time. It really depends. And there's so many other factors that are involved. And then you get to video games, which is kind of smashing animation and dubbing sometimes together. Because sometimes there are very tight restrictions with timing for video games, especially when dubbing to scenes and it becomes like dubbing an anime. But with Genshin, a lot of times we had free reign. We didn't even have to match timings for a lot of things. So we got free reign to kind of take our time with the lines. Video games can be tricky because you don't always have context because of NDAs, because sometimes the game isn't even fully written when they're doing it. So you'll have moments where you are doing a scene and the director may have just gotten that scene or that material that day, maybe a day ago, if you're lucky. And so it is a very collaborative process where you kind of have to trust each other. The directors have to trust the game devs and the clients that they're delivering as much information as they can. And the writers are relying on the creators are we're all relying on each other and trying to create this thing in tandem. And games are just like monstrous. So I think as they're being developed, it can kind of be this sort of rolling timeline where we're really dependent upon each other. And then finally, gosh, I'm talking for so long.
That was great.
To round it out, one of my favorite things was actually this game, Spider-Man 2, recently that released, and it was one of my first mocap experiences. And that's awesome because that takes everything that I loved about doing theater when I was growing up. You're on a stage, you're in the volume, and you are with the other actors. They are present in the space. You are doing a live action performance in that space, and it's very much like a black box theater. But you can also have very cinematic moments because I don't know if you all know this, but and I didn't before, it's really trippy and cool. Of course it works this way. When they capture your data on the volume, you can then go in afterwards, after you clear the volume out, you can replay the scene and like kind of take a little viewfinder around and frame your shots. And you can see the performances happening in real time, even though no one's there. And you can kind of move the camera around because the data has been captured. So it functions in the space and you can kind of like shift it around and frame up the shots and whatnot. There are a lot of like, and that's just one aspect of like a crazy thing you can do with like motion capture. There's so many other wonderful things, and you get to see the sets that are made. Like a lot of times they'll preview the sets. So you'll see what you are going to be in, or like a version of the backgrounds that maybe isn't fully completed. Sometimes it's more completed than others, but you can see like the laboratory that you're in. You can see the cage that you're going to be kept in. Like you see some of your character models. So you get a much deeper connection to what you're doing, which is kind of cool. And I think it shows in, a lot of performances. There's a reason that The Last of Us got so much praise for being such a connected game. And I think it's probably born out of the fact that you have those actors on the same stage with each other, and you have the whole team there really like giving that extra love and attention to it. And I think it just adds a really cool dimension to the whole project.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Sorry, that was the longest. I'm gonna get some water.
That was amazing insight. So
yeah, I didn't know a lot of that. When it came to Mugen Train, when you were talking about that, it made me think of this because Mugen Train was both a movie and episodes
And series, yeah.
Was there any? I mean, was that just you did everything and they just kind of cut it to each format?
So, yeah. So funny enough, I didn't realize they were going to make it in. I kind of thought it was just a movie. I didn't realize that it was going to be chopped up into the entire series.
Yeah.
Because when we initially got the script, it was just the film.
Okay.
And indeed, so at least from my standpoint, I gathered that up the chain a little bit, people, they know what's going on. They know they're going to release it as a series. But I didn't realize that first episode even existed when I was recording the film. And also, it would help if I had a full reading of the manga beforehand. But with our time, we can't always read all the mangas. Right. Don't worry, I have since completed it. I cannot dodge spoilers fast enough. So I was like, and I love the show. So even though Rengoku has had that arc, I was like, I need to figure out what's happening in this. Yeah. But yeah, what they did for the film. So after the fact, when we started doing the second season, we recorded that first episode and we only had to make slight tweaks to the rest of the project. And they indeed went in there and cut it up into those pieces that then became the second season. Mm-hmm. So that was done after the fact and probably, pre-planned. They probably had endpoints in mind all along the way.
Yeah. I would say, because I haven't actually watched the movie itself. I only watched the...
Oh, really? You only saw the season as it released?
Yeah, my husband watched both, and he said that the episodes had had a little more content to them than just the movie did. So when I went and watched it, I just did the episodes. I said, well, give me whatever has the most
content. The most content in it. And it could be because a lot of times when we interface with the project too, in anime, we very much will primarily see what our character is in. And that has to do with a lot of things with like workflow and the recording technicalities is like they want to make sure that they are getting right to what they need to do, what they need to accomplish and get done. So we're not like watching down the entire episode.
Right.
If it's lucky enough to already be out and available, we can go and do that beforehand. And I've done that with a couple of shows that are available. But as you can imagine, if you get into One Piece and you haven't seen One Piece and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to do some research. And you have to dip through.
Look, One Piece is one even I haven't ventured into. So
yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a commitment.
It is.
So yeah. So to a degree, you kind of have to work with what you can. And so for that, I guess that is to say, if there was additional stuff added to any given episode, sometimes like Tanjiro is a bad example, but like Inosuke, like Bryce may not see gigantic chunks. Indeed, he wouldn't see any of Swordsmith Village because, not there. So it's like how much he might know about what goes on there may be more limited because literally Inosuke is not there. And when we go in to do the job, it's not like we're getting a primer on that. It will be a primer that will be given by the director to say, hey, here is relevant information that you need to know going into this situation. And the director gives you the best description to their knowledge that is going to assist the actor in, approaching the scenes that are coming up.
Makes sense. So I guess kind of on the same note, what are your must-do things to prepare and connect with a character, whether it be for animation, anime, video games, any of those?
Oh gosh. Well, depending on the project, whatever's available to me. Obviously, I the scripts. Yeah. I love it when we get the materials beforehand. If it's a project that I'm not familiar with, I do as much research as I can in the audition process. Mm-hmm. I'll do as much research as I can on what available materials are out there after the fact as I dig them up, because we're not always sent like a welcome packet. It's very much like, you booked this show. Congrats. You're recording this date. What you do between now and then, it's up to you, baby. So, I will do as much as I can to familiarize myself. For home, since I was voice matching Jim Parsons for the show, I watched so many Jim Parsons interviews. I watched the home movie more times than I probably rivaled young children in their viewings of the film. How it's always on repeat. It was one of those things where every day I was on the road, going to record for the longest time, for probably the first 2 seasons at least. I was constantly playing stuff. Like I had interviews with Jim practically memorized that I was playing through. And really just trying to get his voice into my head, and then get the character of O into my brain and into my body through what was done with the movie. But then what we're doing with the show has its own life. So it's really kind of, it's revisiting things that we've already established. It's really reading the scripts. It's looking at the beautiful art and funny concepts that all of the animators have already come up with. Like that stuff, I loved it. We got storyboards and it was wonderful. It's hilarious. It's inventive. I'm taking ideas from every frame that the animators put in. It helps me better understand the situations that were happening. It helps inspire ideas in my own head for what I could bring to it that would really help make that moment shine, or help the joke land, or help support another character. So things like that are great. When it comes to anime, sometimes, since we don't always have a ton of material, it really comes down to listening to what we have. So if the animation is out there already, going through and like listening and getting a feel for the tone. Like, where does this story live? What have they, because in a way, the show's already been made. It's already been directed. It's already been sculpted. And there's a lot of like backwards engineering that you can do by watching it. You can kind of divine how that person might have been directed, what that actor's thought process is, what the creators are trying to show and sculpt in this whole thing. And then when you're in the booth, it's very much about just like kind of freeing your mind of that and listening as much as you can to what's happening. And especially if I haven't seen it, which I hadn't for Mugen Train, listening to, my director and Satoshi Hino's performance. And those things were like paramount. In a way that's Rengoku right there. He lives in Japan and Kyojuro has already been voiced and he has a life. And it's my job to take what that is, what that already was crafted to be. It's our job to take that and honor it as much as we can and infuse it with life for our audience, for the English speaking audience. But it's honoring that performance and trying to do it as much justice as possible. So it's, kind of like keep an open mind, keep an open heart, and you just kind of flow with it.
Flame breathing, esoteric art, Set your heart ablaze. Overcome your limits. The ninth form, Rengoku!
He is such a popular character.
Mhm.
Despite really not being in too much of the show. So, I mean, I have my theories, but what is your theories as to what made the audiences connect with him so much? I mean, people love him.
I think people see a lot of themselves and their own lives in him. And not that you can't see it in other characters, but I think Rengoku makes a lot of the case for why you don't why you don't do the bad thing. He starts out really in defense of humanity and in defense of I mean, he's kind of this he's got this great idealistic vision and is willing to sacrifice himself for it. Where the character came alive for me was when we, because all the Hashira are kind of like this. They're all like bluster. It's clown college, that first episode, where it's like, I'm the lovey one, I'm the spacey one, I'm the flashy one, I'm the one who wants to like kill the person and be done with it. And it's like, you're all nuts. Everyone. But when Rengoku sees his father and with his back turned to him, and you kind of realize that you're like, oh, he is the flame Hashira. He's the but he took up the mantle because the mantle was like dropped. And he makes that, the promise he makes to his mother, the things he says to his brother. It's like, it's the hope for something better and the will to carry on. And I think that people, I don't know. I think sometimes we just need to hear that. And I didn't quite realize why it connected. I didn't realize that it would connect in the way that it did until I started going to conventions and I started hearing folks' experiences reflected back. And I don't know if even though I had like an answer, I don't even know if I really have an answer, which I'm kind of curious to hear what your thoughts are. But it really became more apparent when I see that people are affected by it, and they're affected by it because it's like, I've heard from folks, it helped me connect with my siblings more. It helped me connect with my brother. Someone was like, I have a father just like that. And it really hit home. Some people are like, I was really feeling down and in a dark place. And what he said gave me the strength to come out of it, to not get consumed by it. And you're right. It's weird because it's some of these things, it's not like we don't hear them in other places, but however Demon Slayer was able to present that, his grit, his determination, ultimately the fact that he doesn't succeed in that. He succeeds, but he doesn't like get the big win that everyone wants. But it's not even that. It's that he's willing to put himself on the line for it and carry through, even if that's not the outcome, because it's right. Yeah. And I think that's something we all want to like. It's something that deep down, maybe we really want to see. And we wanted to see that win. We want that. And when we don't get it, it's like a literal, to for lack of a better word, gut punch.
Oh. And
yeah. And then to hear someone even in the face of what is ultimately seen as like, oh, this was a defeat, but it's not. And he still tells the next generation to keep going. So I don't know. There's a lot of things. And honestly, like the thing that has made me come to understand it in so much more dimension and understand that it has so much dimension to it is honestly just seeing people, seeing fans and the myriad ways that they've connected to some part of this story, particularly Rengoku, of course, that's what I hear. but Demon Slayer in general, because
Yeah.
don't think I don't have, there aren't fans out there of Mitsuri, of Muichiro, of Tanjiro. Like,
Right.
it's a story where I think we can see a lot of ourselves in it, and and it's cool. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it?
On Rengoku?
Yeah,
Why he's one of my favorite characters. I mean, I think a lot of it for me was that, despite everything that he's been through, everything that he's gone through, he's still such a good person.
Yeah.
And you don't see that a lot. He's kind of that, you always see, that people say like kindness isn't a weakness, like stay, you don't have to harden yourself to the world. And I feel like he is such a good representation of that. Like, yeah, he can go out and like slaughter some demons, but he can also go and take these 3 kids, under his wing and love them and want to teach them. And yeah, I mean, I think he did come to me at a kind of a darker time too. And so, that he was just like, I just remember. And then when I went into Demon Slayer, I knew he died. I was well aware before the episode aired, before I watched it. And so I was like, I'm not going to let myself get attached to this character. And it did happen immediately. I mean, he was just so bright and sunny. And I don't know, I do love the bright and sunny characters, but yeah. I don't even know if I can explain it either. He was just important.
I think, yeah. And I think there are a lot of those things as in like why he does what he does.
Yeah. Very like intentional.
When he's, one of my favorite lines is when he's like jamming his sword into Akaza's neck. And the thing that I think Demon Slayer does so well with is that it really outlines, it really like does not skimp on the clear motivations for why a character is doing a thing or finding strength. He finds the strength to squeeze his abdomen around the demon's arm and jam his sword into his neck because of his relationship with his mother. Mm-hmm. It is literally that family connection, that love that he has for her and for his family, and the hope that he never gives up on that allows him to do that. And it's it's a weird line to deliver, like, mother, it was I who is blessed to have been born to a woman such as you. It's a weird line to deliver when you are trying to behead someone. But that it's like it's where he finds his strength. And I think that, I don't know, it's that hopeful thing of like, I got a lot of hope. There's a lot of like the world's a crappy place a lot of the time. But a lot of what gets said in Demon Slayer, I think resonates with us because we all know deep down that we kind of need each other.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see someone with their back turned to you. But that's not the natural state. You know? It's not, and we all, I think, recognize that. That's not right. That's not, and it doesn't have to be, we don't even have to see him like being a total dick, the dad, to know that like you're not doing the right thing. And then you see someone who's kind of like taking up the mantle regardless. And it's that hope that I think that maybe we all kind of, and it's throughout the whole manga too. You've read the manga?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. It's like the story doesn't happen without every person in the story. If any one of those people is missing, it's chaos. It ends. And I think that's maybe some of the point. And it starts to hit along the way when you see one sacrifice and then another. But like, we don't survive without each other.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was also, well, you know what? I won't say it because we don't want to spoil it. But when somebody comes back in later arcs that Rengoku is aware of, I was like, because when you think about it, he's still such a large part of the story, even here at the end. And, he is so threaded, so deep in everyone. And I think that's another thing, that makes him really special is that he not only left an impact on audiences, but he's still going in the story as well.
Yeah.
You know, all the Hashira they all think of him in their darkest moments, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It's great writing. It's kind of like I use the Game of Thrones analogy a lot of the time too, where it's like, why does everyone feel so gutted that what happens at the end of the first book of Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
It's like, because it's like the best of us. It was the best of them.
Mhm.
And in a way, that single incident carries through the story as very much it motivates so much action, and it motivates so many people. It changes how characters act.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And something like that. I mean, I think it happens in life. And then to call it out in a story like that in an elegant way, where you have an inciting incident, or maybe not even an inciting incident, and you have a moment that shifts people's energies and perspectives. And I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a really neat thing to have in a story. And that's what we like. That's why we like to go and watch these things. I want to fall in love with these characters, you know?
Exactly.
So what is it like to know that you've made so many people cry?
I don't know, man.
I've watched Demon Slayer too many times because my daughter's obsessed with it. It's on every single day. And I swear to God, she taunts me because she puts Mugen Train on. That's like her favorite. And so I've watched Rengoku die 4 or 5 times. I still cry.
Yeah.
On time 5. You know, there's no there's no relief.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I've also said this to folks at cons. You always want something that you're going to do in the arts as an actor. I wanted to have something like this.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
You can almost never predict that it is going to happen. And this is just, it's wild. It's luck. I am forever grateful. I am humbled by every person that comes forward and shares that experience. You know, I know that I'm a small part of it as well. I'm a small part of a very large, you know, I try to like keep on telling myself, not just to tell myself, but because it's true, is that this doesn't happen with one of us. Like you look at Oscar award, Oppenheimer doesn't just happen with Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy's fantastic, but it doesn't happen with just him. It happens with hundreds of other people, you know, and even I think Emma Stone called it out as well in her speech, which was great. It's like, it is the team effort. She is fantastic, but it is a team effort that's behind this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's like, yeah, it's humbling. I'm floored. I don't think I'll ever quite get used to it. But I love that it has that effect, and it's really wonderful to see how much it's, you know, how much joy a show like this brings people in all of its dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to cross my fingers that they animate that Rengoku and Tomioka side stories.
Oh my God, right? Either bake it into like some of the Hashira, like do some flashback stuff into the Hashira training.
Right.
I feel like it would be better interweaved into the story, but
probably
they can also do it after the fact.
I don't care how they do it. Just
So Mark, you have a long resume of your work, but if given the chance, if you could do a role, big or small, be recurring or just a quick guest role, in any game or any series at all, you wouldn't be taking a role from anyone else, you know, just a free for all, what would it be?
So I love older games that I grew up with. Thief Dark Project is a one that was very near and dear to my heart. Mm-hmm. And Stephen Russell was Garrett, and also a ton of different voices from games of that time period that I really loved. But I would love to take a crack at Garrett. I think it's such a cool, moody game. They haven't really done another game like it since. Dishonored came close, but Dishonored's very actiony. It's a great game. I love Dishonored. Don't get me wrong. It's not Thief. Thief was like a mood, and I feel like that, like a game like that would be super cool. I loved System Shock 2. I know it's not necessarily ripe for having like a protagonist voice character in it. In fact, I think they don't need to remake it at all. It's fantastic as it is. But like one of the Shock series would be fun. God, there's so many games I would want to be a part of. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to work with like I've got like a big wish list of people I'd love to work with. I'd love to work with Supergiant. I'd love to be like a little bug in like freaking Silksong. But if Silksong ever comes up and they need someone to do weird bug voices,
we'll show them Flutter from Hunter x Hunter.
Please, yes. So yeah, you can tell it's all video games. So you can tell where my love lies.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like other games, I really did enjoy my time doing mocap and being in the mocap volume.
Yeah.
So jumping into to a franchise, like I personally had so much fun playing through the entire Uncharted series. And a character like Nathan Drake, like I think that Nolan North is so good. He's so like kind of like charming modern Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That something like that. God, I don't know. My one. I come back to Thief in case anyone's listening.
We'll send this off.
Yeah.
Send it to them.
But yeah.
So speaking of games, do you have any all-time favorites, just playing wise, that we haven't talked about yet? That you want to shout out?
Hollow Knight, which I kind of already chatted about a little bit, and which is that I love the Metroid series, and Super Metroid I thought was like I don't know, I just peak like side-scrolling action, and then Hollow Knight came out, and I was like, oh, I think this is my new favorite game. System Shock 2, I will always love that game. Let's see, what are some others that I like? I've sunk a lot of hours into Civilization. I love the Civ series and like strategy games like that. I'm currently sinking a lot of hours into Stardew Valley. And
wow, okay.
And I know the tastes are all across the board.
Multitudes.
Yeah.
I love that game is very like comforting, and my wife and I are playing that together, like a little co-op farm. And I love one thing I love about that game is that it's I didn't realize, but it's a single developer. Concerned Ape developed the whole thing. I had no idea. So when I like finally just found the game like 7 years late and started playing it, and then realizing that it's just born out of one person's mind. There's something really cool and special to that when someone has that sort of dedication to and every there are tons of devs that are I don't think you can be a game developer without being super dedicated with the sheer amount of hours that you have to pour into it. But it's kind of it was neat to like experience Stardew and know that this is like very much this one person's thing that he's created. I don't know terribly too much about his process and story, but that's been kind of neat to interface with. And I'm also talking about backlogs and things that I need to get to. I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3, but I had to take some pauses for like getting married,
Congrats, by the way.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah. I saw your Instagram post. It's amazing.
Yeah. Super happy. It was great. But yeah, so that one I'm in as well, and I just need to jump back on the wagon and continue on. Gosh,
I hear that's a long one.
Yeah, It is. It's I think you can probably take more time than if you're just like running at objectives. And I'm kind of one of those people who likes to open every damn crate.
Same.
You know, even when you don't need to, and suddenly your inventory is way too full.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably another reason why I don't like stream games, is that I feel like I would be that annoying person being like, can we please do the next objective and move the story along? And I'm like, no, I need to organize my bags.
Yeah.
I'm
just going to go farm for one particular material. That's the stream.
Yeah.
It's all in service of a greater goal.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, what do you mean you don't want to pay me to stream me just collecting treasure hoarder medals? What are you talking about?
3 hours straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite? So obviously Final Fantasy was one of yours, and Lindsay, do you have a list?
I'd say for like newer games right now, Genshin, once I started it, quickly became one of my like top favorites, just because I love open world games. Yeah. I'm not very good at strategy things. I'm not like a strong gamer, so I love things I can do at my own pace. So for the same reason, I love like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. But if we're like kind of going back in time, I grew up playing all the Pokemon games. So those are probably like of all time my favorites. Those will always hold a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's awesome. We've been playing Genshin for a long time too, and indeed Tears of the Kingdom. When Fontaine came out, we were like, but we're playing Tears of the Kingdom now. We have to play Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. I still haven't finished Tears of the Kingdom because of Genshin. I'm so torn and stressed about it.
Like that, Nintendo. Yeah. And also like, so there's that, do you ever get that feel like where you don't want to necessarily finish because you don't want the game to end. You want the experience to end.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just going to like put that off. I did that with a lot of the Fallouts too, where I was like, I don't want to progress the main storyline. I want to like explore.
In Tears of the Kingdom, I have only the Ganondorf battle left.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. That's it. And I'm just like, actually, I'm going to wait.
Kind of like out everything else?
No, see, that's the thing. I haven't. So I have to go do that.
All right.
You know?
A lot of Gleeoks to kill. Yeah.
Exactly. I can't do this yet.
There you go. No, you can't.
No.
You can't until you get all it.
That's right. And that's, again, I haven't gone into Costa del Sol because I don't want that experience to end. I don't want to leave that beach town and go out into the horrors.
True. Yeah, that has I guess a bit more weight behind it, where it's like, yeah, if you beat Ganondorf, it's probably like there's better things, but they're horrors that make you.
Yeah. Okay, we have a time again. We've done it, but let's do our nerdy rapid fire. So we should be able to get this out.
All right. I'll try not to talk too long. But nerd rapid fire, you just like knee-jerk responses.
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. All right. The first one is what Hashira are you fighting alongside, but it can't be Rengoku?
Am I fighting alongside?
Yeah.
Oh God, Uzui.
Okay.
All right. If you could pick any fantasy universe to go live in, what would it be?
Lord of the Rings.
Yes. That is always the answer I want. Oh my God, I'm dropping my microphone. I'm so excited. You get 2 battle partners in Final Fantasy VII alongside Cloud. Who are they?
Oh, Tifa and Kate Sith.
Okay.
You don't like that answer, do you? Should I say Vincent? Should I say Sid? Actually, no. I'll say in my original play, I think it was Tifa and Sid. So I should say, when I was first playing. So
I'm Tifa and Red.
Tifa and Red. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
And Lindsay, you are.
She doesn't.
I don't play Final Fantasy. I know.
Unbelievable.
I know. I was busy playing Spyro and Pokemon, like when I was younger. I want to try the newer games now. Like,
You should jump in.
I will do it.
It's exactly how we all imagined it would look when we were playing the original, except now.
No polygon hands.
Gonna add it to my backlog.
Gigantic, Popeye hands that are like.
All right. So I know a lot of times a common thing people ask is your desert island movie, but I want to know, what is your desert island video game? How are you passing the time stuck on a desert island?
Oh, stuck on a desert island with a video game.
There's a TV for some reason.
I was going to say there's a power source though.
Oh God, it would have to be Stellaris or Civilization. Yeah, one of those gigantic, like, I can just sit here and build empires from this place. I need something very long form that has a story that I kind of craft.
That's fair. Crocs, yes or no?
No.
Damn it.
Personal
disappointed
preference.
us.
And we're leaving.
No, it's probably only because I would be self-conscious of how so if you said flip-flops as well, I don't know. There's a thing for
I don't do flip-flops.
You don't do flip-flop, but you do Crocs. No. Do I need to give Crocs another try?
They cover the toe.
Okay.
Because I don't like
It got holes.
But you can't. You put the little decorations in there.
Yeah. Okay. Then you've got your little charms. Yeah. It's life changing. Look, I was a Croc hater.
Yeah.
For years.
You were my answer, and then what happened?
Now I have 3 pairs. I have winter Crocs.
Yeah, I have Croc boots. No, I got my husband his first pair for Christmas, and he was also anti-no, and I was like, just try them, man. I'll buy them, and he's converted.
I see. So it's one of those things where a lot of the initial reaction is negative, but once you get in them, you realize why it's a thing.
That's it.
Okay. All right.
It's one of those things where you're enlightened once you hit 30 and realize this is the shoe that I'm putting on when I leave the house.
Fair.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, when we're pre-30, we're always pointing at people being like, why are they dressing like that? And meanwhile, afterwards, they're like, I don't have to explain myself because I am 30.
And here we are now.
And I enjoy life.
All right. So another potentially controversial one.
Yeah.
Favorite Girl Scout cookie.
Yeah.
And mints.
All right.
And mints and with
all day.
Is there another favorite Girl Scout cookie?
People claim Samoas are good. I don't buy
that would
it.
have been number 2 for me, but
those are my number 2. But Thin Mints in the freezer.
Thin Mints in the freezer.
I have Thin Mints in my freezer currently.
Same.
And lots of Samoas on the counter.
All right. What's your best dad joke?
Oh, it was the one that I think it was the one that I delivered as Kazuha.
What's the difference between a piano and a fish? You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
10 out of 10.
Gotta check with Tino, though. I think he might have some better ones.
I don't know. That's pretty up there. All right. The last one is the most controversial, I think.
All right.
This
pineapple on pizza.
You're pitting her and I against each other. Pineapple on pizza.
No.
Yes.
No.
Oh.
More for me.
Winning.
More for me.
We have one today.
I'm sorry. I know that is a very divisive question. What are the stats, do you think, on what are the percentages?
In my life, personally, you and I are the minority.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
which is shocking.
But then I feel like the minority.
Someone's got to carry the weight. Wait, what?
Yeah, that's right. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I put jalapeno too. So I'm just I'm a separate divide.
That's good.
I say this and And yet when I do go out, I do very much love having sweet things in spicy food. So perhaps with the addition of jalapeno and then the sweetness to counteract. And here's the thing, when I imagine pineapple on pizza, I am imagining some like really crappy, like cardboard-esque pizza that is like the canned pineapple that looks kind of like translucent mostly. But if you have some like artisan freshly chopped pineapple, like, you know, a wood-fired pizza such
from Hawaii.
Yeah, right. Plucked out of the ground. Do they grow on the ground? I don't know. How do pineapples? They're in the ground, right?
Like
I thought it was on a tree.
A pineapple tree?
No.
I get it.
I'm not
we're
sure.
gonna have to cut really quick.
All right, guys, bye. We don't know how pineapples are grown.
If only we had a way of finding out.
We weren't all sitting at computers.
We weren't all, currently.
We're still on the desert island, so.
That's true. And I guess one more. What's your favorite Genshin region?
Sumeru.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Sumeru.
All right, see? I get this
All
one.
right, we got 1-1.
What's your favorite?
I like Fontaine.
You like Fontaine?
Yeah, I like going under the
arm. Much of Fontaine, so
that's right. Because you were playing Tears of the Kingdom.
That's right. So I missed Waterworld. Although I will say, I did get a little bit of the discombobulation when I was doing the swimming when I was trying to like learn the swimming mechanic, and I was like,
oh yeah,
right,
that's
Papa needs like a bucket next to him just in case.
Take the Dramamine and then
yeah, right.
There's a learning curve.
Okay, it kind of grows on the ground. It grows out of a thing in the ground, and then there's like a stalk that has a pineapple, so it kind of looks like a little like pole vaulter or something. Like it's like
a pineapple pendulum.
Okay.
Pineapple, but it's got like kind of this going on.
For some reason, I was imagining that, but I thought that I made that up in my head. So,
well, I mean, unless these are all AI images of what it wants me to believe a pineapple is.
We can't trust anything anymore.
Nah.
Oh, it's yelling at me. We have less than a minute.
Have to go to Hawaii. Oh no, less than a minute.
Right. Well,
all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mark.
We hope
Thank you for your time.
Yes.
A joy chatting with y'all. Y'all have a fantastic rest of the day.
You too.
We'll see you
You
real
too.
soon.
Yes.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.